boy. Hey, you like Pokemon content on the internet? You want it to exist after 2020? Oh, wait. Before we begin, if you're under 13, then right off. You see, I'm adding swear words to this video to appear more edgy. But yeah, get ready to get active, by which I mean, please sign the petition and comment on the FTC's website, please, because, well, maybe you've seen it already. It's going around a little bit. Coppa! Man, I just keep flip-flopping on posting this video or not. Loads of people are overreacting, and I don't want to add to that fear, but the reason I still am posting it is because loads of other people are saying that this is absolutely nothing to worry about, which is completely not the case. So, I guess here's my video about Coppa anyway. I don't even know what to think anymore. Honestly, not enough YouTubers are talking about it. The US government stated that videos intended for people under 13 cannot have targeted advertising or data collected. Thus, they can't get targeted advertising. AKA, videos for audiences under 13 are going to lose 90% of their revenue. Among other things, too, like that videos that are for kids aren't allowed to have a comment section or end cards. And worst of all, those videos aren't allowed to notify subscribers, aren't allowed to be recommended by YouTube, thus you'll never see it on like the sidebar or whatever, and they're not even allowed to show up in search results. AKA, YouTube channels for kids are getting axed. And why am I worried? Or panicking? I feel like I've already gone through like all the stages of grief with this, but I'll spare you the details, but I'll link a load of other people's videos that are talking about this in more detail down below. One of them's even an actual lawyer, but ultimately I'm worried because the law that is being updated for this stuff is incredibly vague. So content for kids on YouTube is legally defined as follows. If the video uses child-focused language, such as cool, duh, or whatever, hip lingo, then it's a video for kids. Last I checked, everyone these days say cool, whatever, and dude and things because those were only hip decades ago when the first part of this law was written. Anything appealing to children is for kids under 13. And I feel like this is where most of the issue arises. You see, by the very nature of children, kids, they want to learn. Basically, everything is for kids. They love to be interested in anything. We are, as humans, innately programmed by our instincts to learn what's the why of the world and seek out new and interesting things. Almost everything is for kids because of that. They see the world as one big new experience and they want to experience it all for the first time. Nothing will stop them. No single item is off-putting to them. Yes, that means there are actually kids out there that like broccoli. I was one. So what is with this wishy-washy wording? Anything that appeals to kids? Blah! But get this. Guess what else is in this thing that makes it defined for kids? Pop music. Toys. Animated characters. Cartoon characters. Especially popular ones. Video games. Especially those intended for younger audiences. Bright colors. Yeah, bright freaking colors. If it has a kid in it, then it's for kids. Obviously, there's a kid in it. Why would you have a kid in it? There's no such thing as child actors in serious stuff. But here's the other fun one. If the video has fast cuts. Fast cuts? What? So literally vloggers. Great. Wonderful. Completely perfect. Kids are the only one that have toys. You see this? I'm not doing this because I want to. I'm doing it because if this passes, I'll be legally obligated to. That is, if it passes in full, complete force. It might not be as bad as everyone says, but like, even the Game Boy's not spared. Because it's a video game system. Don't you know all video games are for kids? It's not like we had the ESRB made and there's like a mature section where only adults can have the games. That doesn't exist. Video games are for kids. Come on. Back to the document. Stories. Just straight up stories. Yeah, any of these things that it lists here makes a video potentially for kids. And videos for kids are essentially, in practice, no longer allowed on YouTube starting in 2020. They become near invisible. If you do want kids content on YouTube, you have to know the channel ahead of time, go to that channel, and then see their videos there. But even then, due to the revenue thing, they're going to be getting less than 10% of the revenue per view at that, as if they'll be getting views anymore. Obviously, it's not going to be worth it to most to keep making that stuff. This legal jargon that it's using to describe what a video for kids may entail, it's way too vague. And the punishment for failing to comply is way too steep. Failing to comply means a fine of up to $42,000. Yeah, for having bright pink in your thumbnail. And I do want to add something here. A lot of folks are downplaying this part, saying that the FTC isn't going to be suing content creators because they aren't the ones collecting the data. Therefore, content creators themselves don't have to worry about the fines. But here are two things. One, yes, they are. Look at themselves. Look at the source material. In their own press conference, they literally say that they will. In the United States, anyone can sue anyone for any reason, even if it's not precedented. And even if they don't have a leg to stand on, them suing you will still cost you loads in legal fees to get lawyers and submit paperwork. Far more than what most content creators can reasonably afford. Now, it is true that government agencies say things like this all the time for the sake of fearing people into compliance, but to say that it will never happen completely contradicts what they themselves say they will do. It's literally in their plan, so don't say everybody will be completely safe. And two, even if you were completely right and the FTC won't be suing anyone, that just means content creators won't get the huge fine. Good. But that doesn't change the possibility that their channels will be marked as for kids because of these changes. And because of them being marked for kids, they lose most monetization and their videos are near unfindable. So saying it's nothing to worry about is like saying, hey, don't worry guys, I'm not going to shoot you in the head, just your legs. I'm not going to totally kill you financially, I'm just going to strip away your entire career. No biggie. Which is why we really need this law to be clarified. Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps tweeted about this recently, and a lot of people are using him as a source to be able to calm everyone down and such, even though he is not a source. The FTC is. Listen to what they are saying they will do, not what an unaffiliated person is saying what they will do. His tweets contradict the FTC's exact words. And speaking of their exact words, and the Game Grumps, another thing that defines content as for kids is the presence of celebrities that kids like. You know how many kids like PewDiePie, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, MatPat, and the Game Grumps? Yeah, they are massive, easily celebrities. By the FTC's definitions, their content is all for kids because it has them in it. That is how broad these definitions are. That is why we need them to be specific. That's all we're saying we want to change. We want clear lines to be drawn. Coppa in and of itself is a good thing. It has good intentions. But these things that in 2020 they are going to start enforcing, they are the bad parts because they are so broad. Even if, come 2020, it is never at all enforced at the particular level that many people are saying that it could be, the fact that it's questionable shouldn't be a thing. If all of this content by these folks is possible to fit into their criteria for kids' content, then the law is too vague. It's written bad. It needs to change. Which is why a lot of us content creators and people on social media are trying to get it changed. And that's why we have petitions for as useful as petitions are, you know. And at first, due to YouTube's track record with like copyright and all the changes they're doing, you'd think it's like, oh, it's them entirely. But no. This is a law. This isn't something where YouTubers are just going to leave YouTube because this is the last straw. This is a law that is going to affect every single website that the United States has access to. And even if you're not in the US, you remember when the EU made changes to how privacy policies can work on the internet, and then everyone, including people not in the EU, like people, me, the American people, still got bombarded with emails of updates to privacy policies. It's because when a big population like Europe or the United States makes a law that has to be complied to, Websites blanket comply it everywhere because it's too complicated to not. And when it comes to actually explaining this law, I mean, I kind of hate to say it, but YouTube's own video informing creators about this, for once, actually said it in a somewhat easier way to understand than the actual paperwork that is the law and the compliance stuff that I'll be linking to below also. And yes, just to get it out of the way, it is YouTube's fault that this is happening. They failed to comply to the law for a few years, and then they paid their fine, $150 million, and now their liability is up. At this point, they are now adding tools and putting a system in place that is going to make the content creators responsible. So yes, it is YouTube's fault that this is happening, but pointing fingers doesn't matter anymore. Content creators are now the ones responsible. And by their own very broad definitions, every gosh darn PokeTuber falls into these categories. Arlo is a Muppet that talks about Mario. There are countless channels out there who are family friendly, but still have a primarily adult audience. I can see my analytics. Most YouTubers can see their analytics. And I can tell most people watching my channel are over 18, let alone over 13. But by the government's definitions, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's watching it. It matters who it potentially could appeal to. If it could be seen as appealing to kids at the surface level, then it means that it is for kids. Adults just happen to be watching it. The FTC, the government body responsible for this, is out for blood here. They have even stated directly that they are going to aggressively sue content creators beginning January 1st, 2020. And you know that they are going to be ham-fisted with punishments for the first while just to make examples out of people. First, it'll be the obvious ones, garbage, Elsagate type channels, kid-oriented toy review channels, slime channels, Ryan's World, etc. But where is the line drawn? And how can we be sure that we're safe? The FCT has way too few employees to handle all of YouTube. Even YouTube isn't properly staffed for how many videos there are. So there are going to be bots to determine this stuff, and those bots are going to be of government quality. So, made by the lowest bidder, meaning that they may actually somehow be worse than YouTube's bots. And YouTube's advice to creators because of all this legal stuff? Go get yourself a lawyer, people. Ha! They say, well, you know your audience better than anyone, which is why individual people get to say who their videos are intended for. But because the one's for kids, if you say your video is for kids, the video is basically dead, that means nobody is going to want to choose that. So, what is this garbage? They know that they can't trust people with this, so bots will be and are already implemented. And bots have a really hard time understanding context. Examples off the top of my head, myself. This channel is primarily adding teen to adult level commentary to Pokemon, delving into lore in ways that most kids may not even be able to fully understand. We also teach things like physics or Ohm's law, college level stuff, but through a fun veil that is Pokemon. Because Pokemon may target 8 to 16-year-olds, but most of its fans, according to what I've seen at official Pokemon events and my analytics and everyone I've met at cons, the primary audience here are people who grew up with Pokemon a decade or two ago. So sure, I know that my audience is young adults primarily, but all a bot can see is the Pokemon characters, the little animated toons, and the toys. This one's expensive. I don't want to drop it, but it's toy. These bots it's been years now. Bots are able to look at the frames, frame by frame, and determine what things are. And it's vaguely good at that. And it being good at that is the scary thing, because it's going to see, oh, hey, that's that Pokemon. That's Pikachu. Or, hey, that's a toy. This is a toy video, a Pokemon toy video. It's not going to look at any of the other context. It's a Pokemon toy videos for kids. Another example, the channel What's Inside. It's about a dad and his kid cutting stuff open. It's fun. Is it for kids? No. But by their definitions, yes. It's got a kid in it. Rebel Taxi, a cartoon reviewer with literally the worst potty mouth I know of on YouTube. I love him. He's literally anything but child-friendly. The things that he said that he'd do to Raven from Teen Titans. But because his channel reviews cartoons, at the surface level, it can be seen as kid-friendly because it's cartoons. A kid would potentially be interested in a review of a cartoon, regardless of what is specifically said in it. Therefore, it's for kids. I can't say this enough. Adults play Pokemon. Adults play Nintendo games. Adults watch cartoons. Adults collect toys. This isn't the 1970s anymore. This is not how pop culture works now, okay, boomers? Adults are no longer afraid to be interested in things. We like a lot of the stuff we grew up with, and we like a lot of family-friendly media. What we watch doesn't all have to be blood, gore, historically accurate sex stuff. Adults... anime, cartoons, video games, they're general audiences. Sure, kids are in that. But kids, that's like, you look at the whole age range that people are, kids. Again, my channel here adds teen to young adult levels of commentary to a franchise that targets not only teens, but also preteens. And stereotypically speaking, primarily preteens. But fingers crossed that the bots that are going to be analyzing all this will be able to understand the context of the commentary added, being why people see this video, not simply because it has bright colors in the thumbnail. And if they can't see that context, I am prepared to leave this channel. And yes, a lot of people are saying this is being blown out of proportion. It's not going to be enforced at that level. Even some big wig mentioned that it probably won't affect 99% of YouTube, but it's not even about what they are going to actually do with it. It's about what they could do. No entity should have powers as broad and vague as that. Sure, they may only wind up going after stuff aimed at preschoolers, but if this passes, they still have the power to remove whatever they want for pretty much any reason, so long as it falls into any one of these extremely broad guidelines, which is most of YouTube. Fast cuts, meaning if at any moment they want to say censor someone, it's easy. Just say that it's for kids because it's a story or a vlogger using a fast cut. There you go, it's for kids. Therefore, this video will never be seen again. Censorship is telling a man he can't have a steak because a baby can't chew it. That's a quote by Mark Twain. I did some research. It's so stupidly complicated, and yet it really shouldn't be. There's a big difference, an extremely large difference between Elmo and Mario. Elmo is clearly a child's character. Mario is appreciated by people of all ages, but Mario is still a cartoony video game character with bright colors. So for all intensive purposes, if this change to Coppa passes, anyone talking about Mario could kiss their bank accounts goodbye. So what can you do? Well, spread the word. Educate yourself and others. I've linked more videos about this down below, one of them from an actual lawyer, and most importantly, there is a petition, link below, and also this change is still up for public comment until around December 9th, if I remember right. So there's a link to where you can let the FTC know that this is kind of a bad idea down below. I'll also link to a tweet of mine that has what I commented to them below in case you need some inspiration on what to say. Just please be respectful because this is a serious matter. And I'm surprised this isn't being talked about more. I haven't seen Philly D cover it yet, or the Vlogbrothers, or really any of the other big YouTubers. Like, MatPat has made videos about YouTube stuff way less important than this. So where's that one? So please sign those things. Spread the word. We may not be able to stop it entirely, but it may also not wind up being as bad as people are thinking it will be. But this power shouldn't even be a thing. But at its absolute worst, it's bad. And no, again, moving off of YouTube to another platform will not help. This is a legal law thing. If the website is accessible in the United States, it must comply. They are simply starting with YouTube because it's the biggest one. Also, no, adding "you must be 13 or older to watch this" or any sort of disclaimer at the beginning of your video doesn't work either. Once the video is clicked, it is too late for your disclaimer. If your thumbnail and title are potentially appealing to kids, they fall under the legal definition as for kids. Even if the video is about sex, drugs, violence, swear words, whatever, it's all surface value. You got Pikachu in the thumbnail, some neon green text. Doesn't matter if the actual video is about how you just want to cut all the Pokemon up alive and dangle their insides everywhere. Doesn't matter. Surface value. It's for kids. And no, not even YouTube could easily fix this. They could implement a system where they actually enforce their own and have already existed "you must be 13 to access this website" rule. But thing is, kids lie about their age, and the law knows that. So it was made with that lying in mind. YouTube could implement a system where you need to be logged in to watch videos and need to have documentation that proves you are who you are and the proper age to make an account in the first place. But even that doesn't stop kids from watching on their parents' account. So the only way around this is to no longer properly support content that is appealing to kids. Thus, kids won't be interested in going onto YouTube. And well, guess what? Kids are interested in cartoons, video games, Pokemon, Mario, toys, bright colors, and apparently jargon like cool and whatever. If a kid likes your thumbnail or whatever and they click, that means you appealed to them. So great. This is ultimately, of course, the latter half of this, it's ultimately the worst case scenario. But in my opinion, it shouldn't even be a vague possibility. If it is a possible scenario, even if it's not even close to the thing that's actually going to happen, if it's a possible scenario, it's a bad law. So please, again, links below. Thanks for watching, and let's hope for the best. Let's have faith in YouTube and our government. In all honesty, it is unlikely that channels like mine will ever be sued by the FTC directly. They don't have the resources to go after guys like me. It'd be a waste of taxpayer money, it'd be a waste of their time. If they do sue content creators, it's probably going to be the big ones exclusively, Ryan's World, you know? So personally, I think that I and other creators like me don't have to worry about the fines. I'm still getting business liability insurance just in case, but I don't think I'll ever have to use it. But what I am worried about is a government agency having that kind of power at all, as well as YouTube bots going around making mistakes. It'll be just like when everyone was getting bad copyright claims, but worse, because this time, instead of being able to appeal and fight back, now the option is just to leave the YouTube bots feedback. Ew. So ultimately, I suppose most people won't get fined, likely. But their videos may still wind up being practically invisible. AKA, we won't have money taken away, but we just possibly won't be able to earn any more of it. Careers are about to be ruined. And, this isn't even just me. I'm stressed out because this channel supports my family and several editors' families. Most people working on this channel are behind the scenes, and I would feel terrible to have to let some of them go because too many videos got improperly marked as for kids. You may not realize it, but most of the money channels like mine make are coming from older videos. At this point, it's around 20%. 20% of this channel's ad revenue comes from videos from this month. The rest of it, the vast majority of the ad revenue this channel makes, is from videos we made months ago. Slowly increasing in views. So even if we completely change the way we make things, we stop using bright colors, we stop using images or gameplay footage of Pokemon, we just completely change everything, all those old videos are still going to get hit, and we're not going to be able to afford to keep going. It's still over. It'll go back to just me, because I can't afford to have hired help anymore at that point. And at that point, I'm tired, man. And that's what I'm really worried about. Not the fines, the bots.